First Reformed, where the premise of the film, it begins when a young man seeks counseling from a reverend because he does not believe it's right to bring a child into this world. And that sort of sets the story in motion. And that's not a question we would have been asking 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. But my kids, as well as their friends, do ask this question now.
Are there genres that are purely American? Is there a kind of filmmaking that does not belong in America? And Paul, you know I'm going to talk to you about that. I don't know if you read Paul's book. He wrote one of the seminal books about film history called Transcendental Style in Film. Yeah. And now, and when we first met 20 years ago, I asked you about that influence on Taxi Driver. And here you are now making First Reformed, which is clearly influenced by Ozu, Bresson, Carl Theodor Dreyer.
In March of 1969, I was a film critic for the LA Free Press. I went over to the Laemmle Theater, saw a screening of Pickpocket, and I reviewed it. And in that 75 minutes, it's a short film, two things happened that changed my life. One was I realized that there was a bridge between my spiritual life and my film life, and it was a bridge of style, not a bridge of content. And the other thing I realized is that, in fact, there was a place for me in the film business other than a critic. And 2 years later, I had written the book, and 3 years later, I'd written Taxi Driver, which is a pickpocket. And then 50 years later, those two seeds, which fell in that petri dish, came and wound up, and I made First Reformed. Wow. So I'm done.
You're finished.
I feel strongly that the additive process is much more creative than a subtractive one. And so if you can have a first draft that works at 70 pages, you know you're going to have a first draft that works at 90 pages, and it's just going to get better. And the same thing with the editing process. At some point, you say to the editor, let's make a cut of the film with just the stuff that's good. See how long it is. Maybe it's 45 minutes long, 55 minutes long.
And you put the bad stuff on.
And then see how much of the rest we have to put in. And now you're thinking in an additive way rather than a subtractive way. When you're always thinking subtractively, how can I make this shorter? How can I cut this down? It's not good for your creative process. I began on spec. I'm still writing on spec. I think I've only had a handful of paid jobs in my life. So I walked in the door seeing this as a form of therapy, and I still do. And so, of course, you're going to get into what are the things that are motivating you. And the first script, Taxi Driver, was loneliness, boom. And you find a metaphor, a taxi cab, take a plot and run through the metaphor. And so I've wished many times that I could be a better employee, because there's certainly money to be made. But I've tried a number of times, and it's not really worked.
I like that.
Have you ever been fired?
Yes. Well, not so much fired as you hand in the first draft, you get no notes, you get paid for your rewrite, and the phone doesn't ring. I guess that's kind of telling you that what they think of your draft.
Is there a major film that you'd like to remake? Foreign film, classic Hollywood film?
I get terrified by that.
Well, that's all we do.
Good point.
Perfect.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
We're a good duo.
I mean, you're just picking and choosing. You don't actually originate anything.
Nothing.
You just go through this huge buffet of cinema and make your own plate. And even though all the elements are out there at this endless Chinese buffet, everybody's plate is different.
I am Bo Burnham.
I'm Tamara Jenkins.
I'm John Krasinski.
Hi, I'm Pete Fairley.
Thanks for watching The Hollywood Reporter.
The Hollywood Reporter on YouTube.
On YouTube.